What's good, peoples? Big said, the industry cosign, back again. My friends are better than yours. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Not a brief intro, but I typically, for the years I've been doing this, I've always talked to celebrities and people I don't know or like. But I decided to start this forum because I do have a lot of people that actually are doing some better things than some of the celebrities I've talked to. So I started this platform. My friends are better than yours because they are. You don't have your friends are not better than mine, and if you think your friends are better than mine, then they're probably my friends. But anyway, Big said I have a somebody who's actually known me longer than I think you're the first. You've known me. You're probably the guest that have known me the longest, outside of maybe West Jackson. I spoke to West Jackson last year, but
I can tell you that's not accurate.
Well, anyway, yeah, we anyway, we have my boy RMR Miller. How you say your name?
Millimeter Mac.
Just jacket.
I'm gonna say, yo, bro, what?
So, just so we can get right into it, just introduce yourself and let the people know who you are and whatever information you want to give them, and then we'll just take it.
All right, so RMR is my rap name, aka Millimeter Mac. I made that extra name just because back in the days, when you had those contracts and you were signed up, you couldn't jump on features with people, man. So you had to make another name in order to get some extra money on other projects and stuff. So I made that name up. So it's RMR. Then I use Millimeter Mac too. From the group, let's go further back. From the group New Sounds, that was from 1988 to 1990, I think. Then moved over to Strictly Roots and Mercenaries. But I guess we'll dig more into that.
Yeah.
Bronx homegrown, Bronx all day.
Oh, my shirt, raised in the Bronx.
Ah, yes, sir.
We're gonna talk about what you do and what you've done anyway. So I don't want to continue to torture you to make you say and do everything when we're gonna talk about it anyway. But like I said, we grew up in the same neighborhood, right down the block from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Bronx. I think we thought we were poor, but we weren't really poor, compared to people that live like maybe 10 blocks down.
No doubt.
But and we grew up at a time where crime in the city was like 3,000 murders a year, yeah. And like people got murdered during the day, midday, that wherever. And so we came up at a time where it was like really gritty. And I've always told people that I miss the grittiness of New York City, but not the griminess of it.
Yeah.
The grittiness as far as like you had to be tough, you had to like really know what to do, where to go, and things of that nature, and be street smart without actually having to be in the streets. So, and I've been telling people that where it's like, but I mentioned that because we came up at a time where hip hop was literally just starting. We grew up near Bronx River, within walking distance when we were younger. Now,
not now.
Not now.
That's an Uber. That's an Uber drive.
We live close. We live in a Soundview area, even though it wasn't Soundview, but we would tell people Soundview area to give them an idea of where we were. But we were in the Bronx River area, so I can't really ask you like how did you become interested in hip hop, because like I said, we came up at the same time around the same atmosphere and the same environment where hip hop was just there. Like we didn't grow up with hip hop grew up with us. So it's like it was there. And I remember like when even I was even like Afrika Bambaataa, Zulu Nation.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we were younger when they used to come over to talk to the older guys in the area, things of that nature. And I would tell people that seeing a figure like Afrika Bambaataa and then him getting into hip hop was like kind of natural in my eyes, because like hip hop wasn't what it is now, or it wasn't even didn't really start. It was like it wasn't even mixtapes, it was cassette tapes. So I always tell people that when we came up at a time where everyone was trying to figure it out, because there was no money in hip hop, and it was really a grim time.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want you. See, it's so funny. This is what I hate, knowing the people I'm talking to, because I have 90 different questions, knowing the answer, but not knowing where to start.
Right.
But what was your real interest in hip hop, not as a culture, but as a profession? Because, like I said, we can grow up in hip hop and never dwell into it. But like you actually went into hip hop and became a recording artist and things of that nature. So, what led you down that path to want to be an MC?
To want to be an MC.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Like the culture we know is there. We know. I'm talking about as far as you wanting to pick up a mic and actually do it as a profession.
Oh, okay. That's probably going to be. Yeah, no, I'm not even gonna say probably. The reason for me picking up the mic is because my older sister's boyfriend at the time was DJing in the parks and doing different things. And a lot of his partners rapped and stuff like that. So I was privileged enough to be able to be a pain in the neck little brother. So when all of this was going down, I was able to, if I could find her in the summertime, my mom told me, because you got to be in before the light turn on. But if you find your sister, you good. So I would make sure I found her so I can go and all that kind of stuff. So I would tag along. So I've been in, when Bam and them used to throw parties at 123 and all that kind of stuff, I actually made it to one or two of them joints on those jams in the park. I was able to tag along, being probably, I would say probably like 8 years old.
I would say you had to be, Yeah,
I was like 7, 8 years old, and I seen, not knowing what I knew later on, like some historic things, man. So that's kind of what put me in the realm of wanting to do that, because I seen a lot of cats get busy on the mic, and I saw how the crowd responded to that. So I thought it was cool. At that point it was just like I thought it was cool. So I think when I first literally wrote a rhyme, I might have been like 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I didn't have an interest in writing, because back then, remember, it was breakdancing, like literally all the elements of hip hop, because it wasn't commercial yet. So I just know I was singing back then, because I always was into music, but I knew that I wasn't going to be a rapper, even though I wrote a couple rhymes here and there. I knew I wasn't breakdancing, and definitely wasn't graffiti, because my mother would have killed me, because back then they considered that defacing property. So it's like, I'm not doing anything that's going to do that. Yeah. But just being involved and just knowing, and then we actually grew up with what was Rudy's
the Boogie Boys.
Boogie Boys.
Yeah, and I grew up. That was like my sister's. He was good friend, but he was much younger than her. But so I used to be around him. So when all of that was happening, I was privileged to that too, man. So I seen all of that happening, man.
He was the first celebrity, from literally we had people in the area, but like literally like in Lafayette where we grew up, like, for him to, like, Fly Girl. I remember that time. Actually, I saw Rudy last summer in Jersey. He's a preacher now.
Yeah, no.
Everybody's a preacher now except you and me.
Yeah, they ain't gonna allow me to be no preacher. That should have burned down.
But I grew up in the church though. I was the one that people used to tease about, having to go upstairs and every Sunday being in church. But I'm still around, so that's a testimony.
Sure.
But I just mentioned that because, like I said, seeing Rudy and seeing people in the area, and then hearing like Lightning Lance,
right.
Just different people in the area, like we grew up where the essence of hip hop was basically there. And like you said, I couldn't go to the parks. My older brother was only 10 months older than me. So right. So that rule didn't work that you have with your sister, but it's like, you're literally like 10 months older than me. So it's like we're the same age, 2 months a year. So that was
older right.
But I had an appreciation because, like I said, we grew up in there. And then when I got to high school, I ended up going to school with Slick Rick, Dana Dane, MC Search.
That's right. I remember that.
So it's like, so I was destined to be involved somehow, even though, I had no interest, like I said, in rapping, but was always a fan, still a fan. And I remember when Because my younger brother was in your first video, right?
He was in the first group that we had
Yeah,
before I even got a contract and everything.
Yeah. I forgot what video was that?
Just 3. Oh no. What video was it though? He was in the Begs No Friend video.
Yeah, Begs No Friends. Begs No Friends. Yeah, he's the Begs No Friends.
That was so much later. Like him and I were in like a rap group together in the 80s.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because what my brother's name?
MC
Finster, Baby Finster.
Baby Finster. We used to call him Socket Ranch. Yeah.
So, and I think I had already done a video by the time you did your video, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I think I had already did the MC Light video, but it seems as if like then I knew you with the MCA Records. You were signed to MCA Records, which is big because MCA you were Strong City Records, if I'm correct, right?
Right.
And right. I know that distributed by MCA, and that was a big deal back then because MCA is a major label.
Yeah.
Being in that atmosphere with so many, like the rise of the independents didn't like get to the peak before then, but being with Strong Arm City and MCA, how did it feel at the time? Because everybody's trying to rap, but like when you had an actual contract with a major, like you were literally like the shit because everyone else had independent labels or their boy from down the street or the drug dealer from across the way, whatever. Right. That was the thing. So what was it like having an actual contract with a major label? And, because back then it was definitely a rarity because you came up literally at the time where it just started bubbling when it comes to major signing independence. Yeah,
I mean, the funny thing about that is that because I came up, in Strong City, so I that was like a whole Zulu Nation situation. So I was underneath the umbrella of a lot of people. So I got to actually be standing next to, friends with, and communicating with a lot of hip hop legends. So I'm considered, because I came out 88, 80, or 89. I'm golden era hip hop, even though I'm not as old as those cats. So like me having a contract was kind of dope because we got all the amenities of being signed to a major. We would be on a lot of, some of them were promotional tour, but we would be BLS, KISS. We got to do a lot of stuff. So that, at the time I was young, I couldn't even sign my own contract. I had to sign it with my mother. So for me, it was just like, all right, it was kind of dope. It was cool. I didn't even really understand the dynamics of what it was, because we got like $10,000. So I was able to buy a whole bunch of nonsense, you know what I mean? But it was a big deal, you know what I mean? So for them, it was just like, yeah, that's kind of dope, man. So, and people in the neighborhood didn't really know because I wasn't really in the neighborhood. Like, I'm an MC, you know what I mean? So when it happened, it pretty much happened when they saw me doing videos, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing a video. Come on, pull up. And they were like, oh, this is like for real. Like they had like, $58,000 worth of equipment out, which was a lot back then.
Yeah, definitely.
I
remember because like Tuffy was on Video Music Box. I was already in the Paper Thin video, MC Light, Moni Love, Moni in the Middle. So it was like outside of Tuffy, like I was like the celebrity of the block. I didn't feel that way, but that's how they approach. But I always tell people that back then, videos was movies.
Yeah.
Like to be in a video was a big thing back then.
Hell yeah.
And
let me tell you, when I can't remember, somebody had asked me during the interview about neighborhoods and this and that, and I had mentioned you guys because you guys were just a little bit in front of me, so I would always mention you and Tuffy because I'm like, yo, y'all are the inspiration for me because y'all, as far as I'm concerned, y'all were celebrities, you know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, I got some celebrities in my neighborhood, man. These guys, and it was like, oh yeah, what was the MC Light joint, Paper Thin?
Paper Thin, yeah.
Oh, but yeah, what like she threw you off the train or something like that, right? Something wild like that. Right?
This is what I hate when people discuss that video. The video is like 5 minutes long, whatever. As many scenes as I was in, that's the only scene that anybody brings up.
No question.
It'd be like, yo, you were the one that got thrown off the train. Like, why could it be that I was her boyfriend in the video? Why wasn't I the guy that got caught with 2 girls? Why? Like everything you could have picked, everyone picks, you got thrown off the train. And I'm like, yo.
Right.
And to this day, that's how some people address me, because it's like, yo, I think I just saw you in the video. Did you get thrown out of the train? And I'm
Right.
like, yo,
But
like,
you were a super celebrity behind that though, man. I
yeah,
mean,
that was a big thing. And I can't front. Like I said, since videos or movies, like a lot of women found me attractive on top of, plus the video. So, it worked in my favor, definitely.
Cats kept their hair cut clean and all that. So yeah,
So, okay, like you were, like you said, you were like, I think in 3 groups. Now, few people know this. Yeah, a couple of people know that I started producing, and I know you was with Begs No Friends, R.I.P. Broadway. And then you did New Sound. I said New Sounds.
Yeah, New Sounds was first, and then Strictly Roots was after.
Yeah, the Strictly Roots, yes. And then you did a solo project, which you brought me in on. And the funny thing was, I had just started producing, and Yogi, who was also down with the Bad Boy Hitman team at one time, right?
Yeah.
Or affiliate, something like that. He was on Def Jam Crew.
Yeah.
Crew on Def Jam.
Yeah.
On Easy LP.
Right.
It's like Easy LP. Like we for people that don't know, we lived like in a group of 8 buildings in 3 blocks. So I lived on Colgate. RMR and Easy LP lived on Boynton, and then Yogi lived on Morrison. So it's like everybody like every street was represented somehow.
Yeah.
And it was a great project, because that was my first time, my first recorded record, my first production.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was my. It was like, it was my first one. Okay. Oh no! I did one before. When my son was rapping, they had a little crew. I did a track for, I forgot there was a girl that was down with the crew, but it was around the same time.
Okay.
That song never came out, but with us, it was an independent label.
Yeah.
Mercenary Records.
Yeah.
And Pedro. Wow, I didn't know Pedro. Pedro. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to showcase the talent that I was trying to cultivate, and I walked away from it because politics. I did a title track on Tracy Lee's album. I did a couple of joints here and there, Dana, a couple of people, but like because of the politics, like I just walked away from it. Plus, I was doing other things at the time, doing parties and doing promo and things of that nature. Yeah. But the reason why I brought all that up is because I know within this industry, whatever we start doing, we always end up doing something else as well. And I know that you kind of morphed over to what you're doing now, which is film. Now, before you did start the film company and doing video and things of that nature, you are an entrepreneur. So I know sometimes it's hard for an artist to leave what they love to do something else. Like, what was the transition for you, and what made you go to like not to say that you're still not an artist, but your main focus became, I guess, film. How did that like morph? Like, how did that happen for you?
I had another interviewer ask me that, and I was just kind of like, I don't really know. But now I know a little bit, right? Because that the Duck the Boys in Blue video that we had done with Strictly Roots, Hype Williams, that was his first video, and Ralph told me that. I didn't even know that because I was interviewing Ralph for another.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was his very first music video because Ralph was supposed to do it, but Hype wanted to do something, so Ralph gave that to him. And I was able to just kind of like pay attention to what was happening there. So I think unconsciously that kind of set in my brain a little bit. And then later on it came out because I had been in so many videos. I'm like in Lord Finesse video. I'm in a ton of videos, right? So I've seen the production, and I've seen the good side and the bad side of it. So I think, I guess once I left music, because there was quite a period in time where I wasn't associated in the industry at all, but I was doing other things, open up barbershops and blah blah blah. But I always still wrote because I still had it in me to write. So I've been continuously writing. But I shot a couple of videos for other people. I shot like 100 music videos. People don't really know that, but so
I didn't even know that.
and I just, I was like, hey man, it seemed like it made sense. So I dropped like probably like $10,000-15,000 on equipment. I opened up a graphic design company, a whole bunch of crap, man. So I just decided to go that route because I'm like, I could do it. I've been in a million videos. So, and at that point, my daughter was she was a teenager. Yeah. And she was interested in doing stuff. So she was doing some writing and stuff. So I really got into film work because of her, because she was doing some stuff and I was just supporting what she was doing. And then we just went into this whole other thing, man. And, because you still have to score music in movies, I produce also. So I've always been attached to it. So that just kind of like, I think it was just like a lateral move kind of, because it's not that different. So.
I do like this because I have people that when I was producing, like I would tell people that like songwriting, producing are two different things. Where I would tell people a music producer is like a movie director, in a sense where, I could take somebody else's song and put it in a way that's whatever vision I have for that as a producer, or if I'm doing my own, just like a director can take somebody's script and then put it in their vision.
Right.
You started directing, like, actually, when you first actually got full time into it, what direction? Because I know like producer, director, writer, like, what was it that you focused on more so, or was it a combination of everything when you first started doing it? Because I know with a lot of independent filmmakers, you have to do everything.
Yeah. I mean, there really was no concentrated area. It was just because if we wanted to make this thing happen, my daughter was writing, so I laid back off of the writing, but she was the one in control of that, so I just did all the other stuff. So grip, film, I just learned everything, YouTube Academy and hands-on. So I put all the hats on and then just figured it out. And editing the movie is the same way that you edit music. I mean, music editing came a long way, because when we started, it was the big reel, and they used to cut it with the razor on that machine, and you have to put together with the tape. So I guess I'm sounding old now.
There.
Yeah, so it just was a thing that just kind of came to me already. Like, all right, I'm already inclined to do a couple of things. I do carpentry. I've done a million things in my lifetime, blood. So there was really no adjustment. It was just like, all right, I got to do everything, so I'll just do it and see what happens. And it just started to work out, and I just got better and spent more and more money. So
now I know you do a web series. Like, well, talk about some of your projects and like where people can find it, and
okay.
Like, I guess you can speak if like I said, I know you've been doing this for a couple of years, and you've done a couple of things, so let us know what.
Well, we've been doing this a little over 10 years now. So we've had, in the beginning, we had a mini series called Troubles. It was a 3-part mini series. That's on YouTube. Then we morphed into a full feature called Gang Gang Gang. We put that in the independent theater twice. Then we moved into Juicy, which was a web series.
Yeah.
And we started with that. That was a female version of Juice, and then that continued on. So we're actually working on season 8 right now. Okay. That had a spin-off from that cop show called Bishop and Cheney. And we're on the 3rd season of that. We shot another full-length feature about the cops years ago called 12. And that we put in the theater also. Then we shot another movie just a year and a half ago called Waymore Place. That is, we put it in the theater, and that's going to be on Tubi. So we're going to have Waymore Place on Tubi. Juicy, the series, is now on Tubi, all 7 seasons. Bishop and Cheney is going to be 2 seasons on Tubi, and also they're on Amazon Prime. And we're working out some other stuff. There's a Black independent network that we're going to be on soon. So we got a lot of stuff.
what advice would you give someone who wants to follow your lead and wants to just get into filmmaking? Like what if they had 10 minutes you could talk to them, what would you tell them in order to get them started on their road to hopefully success?
I would say don't focus so much on the top of the line equipment. You got to focus in on the craft. Because you got to have a special thing about you that makes people want to look at your movie, right? So you got to have a good storyline. You got to have the energy to want to do it because it's tedious. It don't always go right. Because I shoot other people's movies also. I'll plug this young lady because she's real cool. There's a woman in Philly. Her name is Kiana Nicole. She's got a 3-part series called A Body to Kill For. And she's doing really, really good with that. That's on Tubi. So patience, networking with people. And if you're doing it for the money, you usually fail because you don't have the passion for what it is. And if you don't have the passion, it won't work because you'll quit because the dollar amount's not there. So you'll skip the loot to something else and go get some money somewhere else. So pretty much it, man.
How do you feel about hip hop these days?
Let me take a sip. Real quick. Lemon water. Some of the cats that's in hip hop are trash, right? But I understand what it is because it moved away from being a vehicle, from being in the street and having something to do. Now it, once again, is money. So people are aiming for the dollar. So they're not putting a whole lot of energy into being super creative or passing a good message. They're doing what's going to make the crowd move or what's going to be repetitive in a baby's ear. Because if you got the baby singing the chorus, the world gonna sing the chorus. So a lot of my peers don't like the drill rap and the trap and all that kind of stuff. I'll say specifically the drill because I'm New York. I don't like half of them, and then there's another set of those cats that are dope. I think a lot of cats my age don't like those cats because they're saying crazy stuff. But I'm like, man, I listen back to my albums, man, and I'm like, oh, if Vlad was out in the 80s and 90s, bro, this would be a prison interview. Word up.
Well, speaking of, since social media is such a thing now, yeah. How do you think, I have an idea, but how do you think life would have been with social media when we were coming up in hip hop in our early days? We had no cameras, no witnesses, no pictures of anything. Not to say that we've never done anything, but
right,
Cass
would have been in trouble, man. Cass would have been. This would be a prison interview, bro. Straight up. But you know what? I don't want to take away from young people because I don't like to bash them because what's happening in the street right now is a product of us. Good, bad, or indifferent. Those are your children or your grandchildren, man. So you can't talk too terrible about them, man, because that's us, right?
And they're following somebody.
Yeah, and I've not said great things on records, man, because I was talking my talk. That's why I don't condemn the drill rappers, man, because they saying what they said. I said what I said, and I ain't backpedaling. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But
go ahead.
Cameras,
Of course, that's what I meant.
Yeah, but nah, man, I like the young cats. I like what they're doing. They're expressing themselves because the reality is a lot of these cats are hurt because we talk about a lot of these young dudes, not the young ones, but the 30s or 40s. Those that's the remnants of people who was on crack in the 80s, man. So some of these cats, man, when they talking about they got attention deficit disorder and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, man, that ain't random. That's because man, cats was partying. Cocaine was a thing that the folks in Hollywood used to use. Like that shit was like sugar. You know what I'm saying? So that game was crazy, and I've seen a tremendous amount of stuff. I mean, cats are in court right now because of that. You know what I mean? So
I was gonna say something, but no.
hey, bro,
Yeah, I've been to a couple of parties myself, but
yeah,
but I have a question where because you brought up a good point. When we started doing things, like I would tell people when I started producing, like well even before I started producing, because Tuffy and I, we had a singing group, and we had to buy a reel, book the studio time, and since we were singing, we had to practice, and by the time we actually got to the studio to actually record, then we had to go get it mixed, then get it mastered.
right.
So it was always a process, and it was more dedication.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, you can literally have your phone. Somebody can even email you some beats. You can do this, and then within an hour, it could be on Spotify, or it can actually be on the radio.
Yeah.
I say to people that, and I hate to sound like our grandparents when we were coming up, but I've always said that I think that because it's so easy, I don't think artists today appreciate it as much as we did, because it reminds me of when our parents were like, they used to walk 2 miles to school, and we're on the bus and we got it easy.
Right.
Like you said, you had to splice the tape, and if you make a mistake, you had to go back, and it was such a thing where, like, nowadays, all you have to do is even with writing. I've been doing. My website is 21 years old. When I first started, I had to code in order to the publishing. Now it's just a matter of, like, you cut paste. You have a content management system. Bang, everything is up. So I liken it to, like, people not appreciating, not to take away that they don't do hard work, but in comparison, I think that, like I said, we've become our parents and grandparents, where we know what we did and what we went through to get to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And nowadays, if we had those same tools, we would have probably either gotten there earlier, or we probably wouldn't have gotten there because it was just too easy, and more people would have been doing it. Which is another reason why I think we have so many people doing. And I take nothing away from anybody that's taking advantage of their talent.
Yeah.
But I also think that, like I said, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Because, like I said, I just think that it's not as, people feel more, what's the word I'm looking for? Entitled.
Yes.
Entitled. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I'm gonna sound like a grandparent then, because you don't feel so you're not so proud of what you're doing if you don't have to work that hard for it. If you're not breaking your back to do something, or it was tedious, then you don't have it in you to be like, all right, I'm gonna make sure this is the best because I put a lot of work and time into this. When the cats go in the studio, like I hate to do punch-ins when I was in the studio. I'm like, no. Start from the beginning. I'm not, because Jazzy J trained me on this though. I can give this to him. That because we were working with reel and tape and stuff like that, all that punching, but he's like, hey man, nah, do that again, man. Nah, I'm not punching that. So I learned that you got to learn that whole thing, like you said, when you went Tuffy, you had to master that product before you got to the studio, so that you didn't have a whole bunch of time being wasted in there. And I think studio time might have been $20 an hour back then, so that was money. So it was like, oh, nah. But because things have advanced so much, I think that it's cool, because cats, there's a lot of people who are talented in our community, right? So, and I think they all need to be able to express it. I just think that the microwave society, where you make a record, because if you can make a record right now and then put it out and make money off of it, and it's good, and why not, man? Reach the world. Because I did a lot of traveling around the world with BAM and then in my group and all that kind of stuff. We did some stuff, and the only way you got around the world is to get on a plane. There was no, my song is in Russia. Like, I got cats reaching out to me from Russia and France and stuff like that about songs that you and I have done, songs that I've done with, like, Sadat X and this other cat, Cloak from the Neighborhood, like different things, man. So I think I think this microwave society thing is cool because people get opportunities that they would never have got. Because me getting a contract, like you started off this conversation, Kaz wasn't getting contracts. When I told Kaz I got $10,000, it was just like, oh, you know what I mean? And I guess 10,000
million back then.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it went a long way too. My mother was no fool, you know. God bless her. You know, so yeah, I dig what's happening right now because you know I'm still a part of it. Like even though I stopped doing music in the '90s, late '90s, I continued. I just continued under the radar. I got records overseas, and then young cats bring me out to do features every now and then. So every decade, I'm out from the '80s, '90s, 2000, 2010, 2020s. I'm putting out a project this year with Puba and one of the cats was Sporty Thievz, and like you know, I kept current. So if cats look me up on YouTube, they'll see that I stayed current. I would have absolutely quit if I thought that I was sounding whack. I'd have been like, nah, this ain't gonna work. Like how Andre 3000 said he had nothing else to say, so he didn't really want to rap no more. If I felt that way, I'd have stepped off. But I still had a couple of things to say, and you know, still here. You know what I mean?
It's still in you. And it's funny because like you just reminded me that over the years, like two guys have reached at least that's 2 years ago because I contacted you. Some guy in Europe found, you know, the rhyme orator.
Right.
And was like asking me questions and it's like, yo, I want to do this and wanted to try this. I'm like just amazed because I've always heard that hip hop is appreciated more outside these states than within the states.
Yeah, that's why the Jungle Brothers left. I should have followed them out there. Like me and Michael Cool, Baby Bam. We were.
I just saw Baby Bam like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen them cats in a long time. But
they have like 20 years.
They were smart. They knew because they have been overseas a lot. Like I literally I can go over there right now and go make some money, but they calling me for Strictly Rude stuff. They call me for new sound stuff, and I'm like, one of my partners unfortunately has passed away. The other one we don't communicate, so it's like I'm not going over there to do that. If you call me out for something that I did, yeah, maybe I'll pull up. I'll jump on a plane. But I don't want to do that. But still get paid from that stuff. That stuff from the '80s. Still send a check to the post office box, man.
Hey, like you said, the rhyme pays. Why not?
Question.
Nothing wrong with that. But I was just so amazed because he contacted me because even though I was going by Big Sad, you know, in the writer credits was like Cedric Thornton, so he found me on Facebook.
Yo, Casby, they be detectives on that computer only.
I'm like, how did he find me? I'm like, yo, and he was dead serious because you know sometimes, and I'm like, well, you have to be serious because it's not like this is something that I was known for, or it was like it sold 10 million records, so you know, so and like I said, not to belittle it, but I'm just saying that it wasn't where it was recognizable where somebody can just find me.
Right.
So he either had to be searching or like he just couldn't have just found me just because like the Big Sad character looked like he may have produced a record that I have heard. No, you know.
Well, what I had to find out from a cat in France, he told me this because I was like, man, how'd you find me, man? Because the cat, you know, emailed me like, oh, you RMR, I'm like, yeah. And he's like, listen, man, there is an absolute love for '90s hip hop. Like people are studying '90s hip hop because all of the people who've been publicized as the greatest in the '90s, the foundation, which they're not, but you know, the Biggies and all of those people, the Tupacs, of course, that's all '90s. That's what anyone under 50 is searching for to find out what this is, especially cultures that are not ours, because they want to embody this. So because they're studying this stuff in universities and blah, 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 they want to know, all right, so if Jesus Christ was in Bethlehem, we need to find out. So they take a pilgrimage to the Bronx, and then they check out everything that the world seems to say is like the establishment of major hip hop, which was the '90s. So that's why people gonna keep trying to find you. You know what I mean? Because you was part of the '90s. So I get a lot of stuff, man. You know,
especially when videos come up. I swear, at least once or twice a month, there's an MC Light Paper Thin reference, and I'm like, oh, and the 50th anniversary. Because there's playing more hip hop, showing more hip hop, and it's like I'm getting calls from people and people, was that? I'm like, leave me alone. So I get it from that point of view, and I wasn't an artist, so that's why I said I could kind of understand, but it's on a way bigger level for because you've been in videos and you've major contracts and traveled around the world. Yeah. Me, I was just in the video, and people are like, "Oh, this, that, and the other." I appreciate it, of course, but it's just amazing how, as you stated, that people still hold on, not necessarily here, but people around the world hold on to hip hop from definitely the '90s because that was a great time.
Yeah, man, I get I get pictures sent to me all the time. Like when Shock G passed away, some cat sent me a picture of me and Shock G that he had, because I have a picture with me, Shock G, and the whole crew and all that kind of stuff. But he sent me a picture of me and Shock G together, and then one time I was out in the Bay, and that was when Tupac was still with Digital Underground, so we got a picture. We out there. But that's when Cisco and St. Ides used to mix that together. So the cat was like, yeah, he don't really want to put that picture out there because we was twisted. But so there's some iconic joints that's out there. But it's like people really on that, man. So I still get love for some things, man. I got some stuff that people don't really know. You know what I mean? Because I'm just not really on it like that. But
you just brought me back because I just realized that we were drinking gas back then.
Oh, yeah. We was drinking straight liquid dust.
Yo. And I didn't start drinking until I was like 24, 25.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because my father was alcoholic, and they said it's inherited, and I want to prove people wrong.
Okay.
And then I didn't start drinking until I think I was 24, 25. Okay. I haven't stopped since, but no. So, but when I started drinking, that was during the Ice Cube St. Ides days.
We was drinking
Coke 45,
Champagne, Ballantine Ale, Private Stock,
that's
Brass Monkey.
Yeah, I was like, yo, we were literally putting. I'm pretty sure you put those things in vehicles, it would have ran. And that's probably why people was so crazy back then. Because I'm thinking about it now, and it's like we wanted to do that back then, though.
Right.
Like we wanted to, and the only reason why I drank St. Ides, which was like premium gas.
Well, St. Ides was lighter than OE.
Huh?
Oh, right. I was gonna say St. Ides was lighter than OE, so a lot of cats.
Yeah, but I was an Ice Cube fan, so when he endorsed it, then I endorsed it. And
gotcha. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it, like even when I started like drinking straight liquor, 12-ounce drinks, 16, whatever, we drank whole 40s individually.
Right.
We may have shared it every now and then, but we all had our own.
Yeah. At least you had to have your own joint. But remember, and this is on your block, because we used to go to the deli over that way. We used to go get the 40s out of there. Yeah, we used to get, because I think they were like $1.75 or something like that, right? We would get like 10 to 15 40s, and there'd only be like 6 of us. And we would get busy, man. Then once the Cisco came out, and we started messing around with that Cisco and OE, that would have cats passing out in the street, man.
I never had Cisco.
Worst thing you can drink, bro. It was like how these cats drink lean. You see how they be looking little? It was like lean that tastes like rubbing alcohol. I mean, I've never tasted lean. I mean, it's cough syrup, but yeah, bro.
Like that crossed my mind when you were talking about the picture you took, and I'm like, yeah, we were drinking like little gasoline. I can't believe,
Bro, that's why we're still alive, man. All that shit in our blood.
We could survive that, yeah.
I ain't never had COVID. I ain't had the flu. None of that shit. That's because all that fucking water from the fire hydrant and St. Ides and OE.
Yo. I just had to take a minute because it was like this crazy just thinking about that.
Yeah, man.
So what do you have on deck? Like, is there anything that you're working on or that you want to work on for the near future? Or
Yeah. Season 8 of Juicy I'm working on right now. Season 3 of Bishop and Cheney, the web series. Both of those are web series. I got a new movie that my daughter wrote. I can't say the title yet, but we're gonna start working on that. I got a cat that I've been cool with for the past few years, man. Dope cat. Name is Kaiser. I'm working on his movie. It's gonna be called No Days Off. That's actually gonna be a series. Musically, I'm putting together the last Strictly Roots project because Dion and I were actually working on songs. So the week that he recorded the song and sent it to me, that was the week that he passed away. Unbeknownst to me and him, he didn't know he was gonna pass. He was sick, but he didn't know that, So I'm gonna complete that mission. You know what I mean? So I got a couple of songs that he's recorded recently, and then I got old stuff that no one's ever heard that I'm gonna put on new music. So there'll be a Strictly Roots
Any
project.
of my tracks? At least that.
Yeah, bro, you need to go make one so I can put you on that, man. I'm just saying.
Yo, I still have both my NPCs.
Bugging, man. Come on, man. Go in there and make me a track, man. Stop playing around, man. Because this one's gonna be all right, man. I'm really I'm keeping it boom bap, but not the corny boom bap. Like some of that stuff is like, yo, bro, I don't want to listen to that, man. So I got Grand Puba on a song. I got the cat Mikey D from Main Source.
Wow.
Dudes from Sporty Thievz. I got Rock, Shake What Your Mama Gave Me Rock on there.
He engineered our project.
Yeah. Stax Cadero, that's a young lady that's been out there for a bit.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you what's funny. T Money.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna appear on one of these days. He actually, his latest episode, I saw Stax Cadero on there. So funny when he said that. I just was talking to him. I'm like, yo, I said, love, because I did a couple of birthday parties for her when I used to do parties at the grill. Yeah, and it's so funny that you mentioned her, and it's like,
yeah, what's crazy is that when I was working in the barbershop in the I say late 80s, mid 80s, not late 80s. She I met her because she lived in that area. She linked up with one of the cats in the neighborhood. Yeah. And they had a long relationship, blah blah blah. But I've known her since she was a teenager. So and she's been dope as MCing forever, man.
Yeah.
I think I hate when I see people who I know are dope miss a shot, and not because of themselves, just the opportunity, like the door should have been opened a little wider for them to go through because they damn sure would have made it. So, I hate to see that. That's why I actually keep going, because my daughter every now and then is like, yo, man, she's a celebrity now. Like, her name is Zoe, and she out here, she doing blah blah. She was like with Adam 22 in the projects the other day on some crazy nonsense. Like, yeah, bugged out. Like, she be moving around. So she kind of famous in this city, man. So she embraces celebrity. I told her I never did. Dion was really, Broadway was always the one who was really accepting of that. Like, even when we was performing with Shaba and all that, the Apollo, it was cool. But I was just like, all right, let's do it and let's move along, man. Really, because the music was just, I like the rap, man. I like the rhyme. I didn't want to be a star, though. You know what I mean? That wasn't my thing. So, I was cool. Like, being on the train, in the 80s and 90s, when I used to be on the train a little bit, cats used to be like, what you doing on the train? I'm like, well, I'm on the train, man. I got a car. I think that's when Hyundais first came out, late 80s, maybe 87, 88. But I'm like, oh, bro, why you get on the train? Like, what am I doing on the train, bro? As long as you don't try to put your hands on me, you'll get off too.
Sometimes it's easier taking that damn train.
Yeah.
Especially in the city. Shit.
So I always respect the cats like Dougie Fresh and the other dudes that's just been regular cats. Because them dudes are iconic, but they just they keep it smooth, man. They don't be tripping off of people knowing that who they are and all that. So I'm cool with that. So
yeah. And that's another thing. Like I said, people are still human at the end of the day. Now you have some Hollywood cats.
Super Hollywood.
You just want to smack them in the face. Like, get away from me.
I got some stories about that too. I've been on some planes with some cats like, money, we still got 2 hours. Don't act funny, man. The pressure will get low in this joint, man. Please, man.
Yeah, you know, I got stories, but you know.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you taking the time to, you know, talk to me.
Well, man, we family, man. I do want to settle this debate, though. I am the oldest rapper that I won't say oldest. I'm the rap. I'm a official rapper that you know the longest. I tell you how. Me and Jarvis went to school together. We went in 3rd grade. I met you when I was in 3rd grade, so that would put me at 9.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I'm just trying to think.
I was in your house at 9, and I was like, "Yo, man, I thought you were a big guy back then." I was like, "Yo, man, you oh, pause, super pause." Nah, but you know, but yeah, man,
You're right.
I'm gonna put that stamp down, man. I thought it was gonna be Wilkes from the Legion, but I'm not sure. I don't know if y'all's friends for a million years.
But I think Wilkes, like we grew up there. Wilkes came, I think, as a teenager.
Oh, see, I didn't remember that.
I remember when they moved in the building.
Oh, okay.
Like we was already there, so that's why I was like, I think, you know, it might be like a year or two, but yeah. And Rudy was, I think Rudy's like a year older than me or so.
Yeah, he's not. He's probably like, he's got to be about 60 right now, I think.
He might be. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're right.
Yeah, so you know, this show that you got here, bro, that you know, your friends are better than others and all that kind of stuff, bro. I'm the official, man. I'm OG in this spot.
Yeah. You're actually a friend, because I say to people sometimes, you know, and they laugh when I say, I'm like, I use friends because that's the name of the thing as opposed to associates. I can't say my associates are better than yours.
Right.
So it's like, but like you said, we actually came up together, and like, and just like when I was talking to Wes, when we talked, I was like there's very few cats that can actually say that we grew up together.
Right.
You know, like out of all the people that I've interacted over the years, and I'm like, that's going back like 50 years.
Yeah, man, for sure.
I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm just saying it just goes back 50 years.
Yeah, you got a wig on right now.
When you think about it, it's like, you know, like even like Slick Rick and Dana Dane, it's like, you know, I've known them since high school.
Yeah.
But I've known you since like literally like 8-9 years old.
Yeah.
I met them in my teen years.
Yeah.
So it's like, even when I'm talking about them, when I'm having conversations about like with Dougie Fresh and all them, like meeting them like at the start of their careers, I'm like, yeah, but I didn't know y'all as youngsters. I didn't know y'all as I knew y'all as who y'all became. I may know you personally, but I'm like, when I met you, you were already Dougie Fresh, or well outside of like Slick Rick and Dana, because like I said, they didn't start recording yet. But I just use them as an example because, like I said, that was further. But you're right.
Yeah, bro. We Pro-Keds and cut off shorts with the string hanging off the bottom.
Pro-Keds. And my mother wasn't buying the Pro-Keds. We was getting the Keds.
Oh yeah. The joints that used to be in the box in front of the store, in front of what's the name of that shit store?
Not Buster Brown. What's
damn.
I know you're talking about too.
I can't remember. One of them old joints, man.
But I remember Pro-Keds, I think, had the stripes and Keds didn't, or something like that.
Yeah, I think Keds had one stripe, but Pro-Keds had the red and blue.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, Keds had the thing in the back, like Pro-Keds, but the difference was the side with like you said, with the stripes and the bigger
stripes. Yeah, that
like those look like Pro-Keds. Those ain't Pro-Keds. No, shut up. No.
Rejects on.
But they weren't Skippies though.
Yeah.
They weren't Skippies, but you know they were a step above Skippies, but below Pro-Keds. So
yeah, I mean, because and going back to what you said, man, we thought we was kind of poor or whatever, but all we had to do was just go across the park and go into Soundview Projects and be like, oh nah, these cats it's a little different over here. And not everybody, of course, but certain cats was living a little tough over there. Monroe, it was looking like, oh, we got security driving around, and you know, you got a buzz.
We had doors in the building.
Yeah.
We had locks. But you know, we near Monroe and Soundview Projects and
yo, it was crazy that we wanted to. Well, at least I wanted to always.
No, we were hanging out. Remember, I don't know who came up with LIP, but it's for Lafayette Island Projects.
Yeah.
We didn't live in projects though.
Right.
But
right.
everybody wanted to be part of projects.
Well, you know, it was Posse before projects. Remember that?
Oh,
Lafayette Island Posse, and then it went to Lafayette Island Projects because cats wanted to get a little more gritty with it.
Exactly, because you know we were too, and like I said, I didn't realize it then because I'm thinking that we're poor, but then they're looking at us like we're uppity, and I'm like, how? And then, like you said, going over there, it's like, oh,
bro, I never tasted Kool-Aid until I was 14, and I was I was in the cat's house in Monroe. He's like, "Yeah, you want some Kool-Aid?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right." And I drank it. I was like, "Hey, what is this, man?" I was like, "You don't have juice?" Because my mom's always had like grape juice or grapefruit juice or something like that. I didn't know what that was, bro. And then when I told cats back in the neighborhood, they was like, "Yo, you sound like a crazy man." I was like, "Yo, bro, I never had Kool-Aid in my crib, man, so I don't know." And when I tasted it, it had crazy sugar in it. I was like, "Yo, bro, what is this?"
That was the diabetes starter pack.
That was short-lived, bro. I didn't want to play around with that because I didn't know what that was. And then remember, chicks used to color their hair with that in the 80s. You remember that?
I
remember chicks used to go to DC to get them salt and pepper cuts, but then when they started to add a little color, they were using the Kool-Aid to color their hair.
I don't think I remember that. Wow, that's funny.
That was the part too. Like, I'm not drinking that, man. I don't know what that is, bro.
If something you put in your system can make your hair, no, that's not good.
Crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, we could go on and like, you know, and Dion. This is Baby Finster now. Do not disturb went off. That's what this is Baby Finster now. Let me. Yeah. So, but my brother, definitely good catching up.
Indeed.
Good luck with the future projects and things of that nature. And you know, if you need a role of a, you know, even if I get killed in it, you know, just let me know.
Bro, I got a spot for you right now. You just got to come up, you know. Got to pull up, man. You know, you stuck in your castle and shit. You got the moat around your joint and all that. So
I usually have braids, so I have my hair braided. So you know, see,
I like that look, man. That look.
People they're like, yo, because when I take their hair, they're like, yo, and I'm like, you know, especially the women, because the women, you know, but you know, my cousin does an excellent job with the braids, so I enjoy it, and plus, I don't have to do anything, so. I was supposed to get a braided yesterday.
More personality this way, man. I think it's more personality this way, man.
Yeah. I think that's what people enjoy. Yeah. And when I did a couple of these with my hair out, people are like, yo, your hair. And I'm like, I mean, it's my hair. What do you want me to do? And the only ones that would tease me or say something like foul would be people who like can't grow hair anymore.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. I just got a comment from Glaze. My girl's sister, how come I can't see this now? My girl's sister back in the day used to color her hair with Kool-Aid. That's funny. So I guess you were right. Like I said, I don't remember. And I'm pretty sure I knew back then, but wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, as long as they're not doing it now, because if they're doing it now, do they even have Kool-Aid anymore? They still have Kool-Aid, right? Well, there's so many different options nowadays.
We're about to both lose our black card right now. We don't cut it out, man. If cats watching like that, gonna be like, nah, these are two bougie bonton cats, man.
Like I said, we were blessed. And like I said, I definitely thank my parents. We was blessed to actually grow up in a nice area, even though we didn't think it was nice. Right. But compared to other areas, it's like, I get it.
Yeah. That's home base. It was safe. You know what I mean? Go everywhere else and act fool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But my brother, let people know how they can reach you. Social media. Are you even on social media?
I'm on social media, but you see, you know.
No, because I contact you directly, so you
know. So I'm on Facebook.
Or website or whatever.
Millimeter Mac Films on Facebook. Millimeter Mac Films on Instagram. Oh shit. Millimeter Mac Films on YouTube. And if you're looking for us on Tubi, You just got to look up Juicy the series or Bishop and Cheney. Yeah, man. If you put in Millimeter Mac Films, you pull up everything except police records and shit like that. Expunged or swiped or wiped or whatever it is. Your man Elon.
No comments.
Yeah.
But thank you everybody for tuning in. If you're still with us, Big Set Industry Cosign. As I state, my friends are better than yours. And if you think I'm wrong, show me them, and I'll prove you wrong. Until the next time, out. I gotta look for. I do this everything where I gotta look for the end button so that way we can end.